Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, looking at wine, beer, ale together by the ears, or wine, beer, ale, tobacco contending for superiority, depending on which version you're looking at. We are looking at the I say the later version, the expanded version of the text. I was going to say the later version. It's a year later from the first edition. So it was first printed in 1629 and revised edition of hers since 1630. It probably comes around a few years earlier than that, so sometime in the 1620s, and possibly performed in Cambridge. We don't have any precise details on that, whether it was actually performed or whether it was just written as a amuse-bouche, which is how I'm hoping that it will come across. It is an entertainment of some description, and we're hopefully going to be entertained. And within the text, we have a number of characters. Once upon a time, morality plays did allegorical figures about concepts. We've sort of devolved to just anthropomorphizing inanimate objects and foodstuffs, which is sort of where we are here. So performing ale is
me, Helen Good. Hello, I'm a historian and I live in Hull.
And reading Nutmeg is...
Hi, I'm Tom from Brighton.
Reading Beer is...
Hi, I'm Desna from Lancaster.
Reading Wine is...
Hi, I'm Valentina Vinci, and I've not had any wine yet.
But the night is yet young.
Yeah.
Reading Sugar and Water is...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I wish I had a drink. That was alcoholic. I mean, not like I have tea, but that doesn't count.
Yeah, it's not quite the same thing. And reading Toast and promoting the big tobacco lobby is...
Liza Graham. I have had toast, but I have not yet had any tobacco. It's not generally a thing I do, but like acting, right?
And none of the substances here are necessarily good for you, but in moderation, perhaps. Who knows? We're not here to support promote tobacco. Just making that really clear at this point. That's not the aim of this. Beer, wine, ale, your life. I'm your host, Robert Crighton, and I've already lost the plot. I'll be reading stage directions and other odds and ends as well. But before we begin, actually, we have a little notette from the stationer to the readers, and I think I would like Helen. Could you read the little introductory address from the stationer to the readers, please?
The stationer to the readers. Gentlemen, for in your drink you will be no less. I present you with this small collation. If either wine and sugar, beer and nutmeg, a cup of ale and a toast, tobacco, or all together may meet your acceptation, I'm glad I had it for you. There is a difference between them, but your palate may reconcile all. If anything distaste you, there is water to wash your hands of the whole pamphlet. So hoping you will accept a pledge of my service and have a care of your own health, I begin to you, J.G.R.
Which is presumably John Green, of the printed in London by T.C. for John Green, to be shot at his shop at Furnivall's Ingate in Holborn. So that's a very pleasant little introductory note. It's quite cute. I quite like that. I enjoyed that. Anyway, we're going to dive straight into the text. There is a scene, presumably, of which sugar and nutmeg from several doors meet.
Nutmeg?
Sugar, well met. How chance you wait not upon your master? Where's wine now?
Oh, sometimes without sugar, all the while he's well if I be in his company. 'Tis but for fashion's sake. I wait upon him into a room now and then, but I'm not regarded. Right, when he's ill, he makes much of me, but who but sugar? But to my remembrance, I have not been in his presence this fortnight. I hope shortly he will not know me, though he meet me in his drink.
Thou hast a sweet life in the meantime, sugar.
But thou art tied to more attendance, Nutmeg, upon your master beer.
Faith, no. I am free now and then, and though I be in his presence apprentice still, Nutmeg hath more friends to trust to than beer. I can be welcome to wine thy master sometimes, and to the honest countryman ale too. But now I talk of ale, when didst see this man, prithee?
Who, Toast?
The same.
Ah, I meet him at tavern every day.
When shall thou and he and I meet and be merry over a cup?
I'll tell thee, Nutmeg, I do not care much for his company. He's such a choleric beast. I know not what he's made of, but his quarreling comes home to him, for he's every day cut for it. I marvel how he escapes. This morning he had a knife thrust into him.
Indeed, he will be very hot sometimes.
Hot, aye, till he looked black in the face again. Besides, if he take an opinion, there's no turning him. He'll be burnt first. I did but by chance let fall some words against ale, and he like to have beaten me to powder for it.
How? Beaten sugar? That would be very fine, I faith. But he being bread and thou a loaf, you should not differ so. Stand, look where he is.
And enter Toast drunk.
Then I'll be gone, for we shall quarrel.
Come, fear not, I'll part you. But he's drunk, ready to fall. Whence come him dropping in now? How now, Toast?
Nutmeg, round and sound and all of a colour, art thou there?
There's all that's left of me.
Nutmeg, I love thee, Nutmeg. Oh, what's that, a ghost?
No, 'tis your old acquaintance, Sugar.
Sugar, I'll beat him to pieces.
Hold, Nutmeg.
Nutmeg and Sugar hang upon Toast.
Cannot Toast stand without holding?
Where have you been, Toast?
I'll tell thee, I have been with my master, Ale. Sirrah, I was very dry, and he has made me drunk. Do I not crumble? I shall fall to pieces. I'll beat Sugar for all that. I do not weigh him. He is a poor rogue. I've known him sold for tuppence when he was young, wrapped in swaddling clouts of paper. I know his breeding. A drawer brought him up, and now he's grown so lumpish.
You're a rude Toast.
Ooh, rude. Let me but crush him. Rude? Sarah, 'tis well known you come from Barbary yourself, and because of some few pounds in a chest, you think to domineer over Toast. You're a little handsome, I confess, and wenches lick their lips after you. But for all that, would I might sink to the bottom if I do not. I will give Sugar but one box.
Not the face.
Come, you shall not.
Really, Nutmeg, take out Toast a little. Tomorrow we'll meet and be drunk together.
Exit Nutmeg with Toast.
So I'm glad he's gone. I do not love this Toast's company, yet some occasion or other puts me still upon him. Who's this?
Enter Wine.
Tis Wine, my master.
Sugar, you are a sweet youth. You wait well.
A friend of mine called me forth to cure a cut finger.
You'll turn surgeon or physician shortly.
But your diseases need none, for inflammations which are dangerous to others makes you more acceptable. Nor do you blush to have it reported, sir, how often you have been burned.
So, sir, now you put me in mind on it, I hear say you run a wenching and keep women's company too much.
That's what like will to like. Sugar being of his own nature sweet, his reason to make much of women, which are the sweetest creatures.
But some of them are sour enough.
Aye, widows at 15, maids at 25, but I keep them company for no other thing than to convert them. Some of them could even eat me, but for fear of spoiling their teeth.
Indeed, one of your sweethearts complained the other day you made her teeth rotten.
Alas, sir, 'twas none of my fault. She bit me first, and I could do no less than punish her sweet tooth.
Well, sirrah, I say take heed of women.
Nay, sir, if I may credit my own experience, they are the best friends I have, for I'm always in their mouths. If I come to a bank, as none are made without me in whatsoever fashion I appear, every woman bestows a handkerchief upon me and strive to carry me away in their cleanest linen. But for shame to betray their affections to me, they would bring whole sheets for me to lie in.
Why, sure thou wert wrapped in thy mother's smock.
I think if the midwife were put to her oath, I was wrapped in hers on the christening day.
Well, sirrah, enough of this discourse. You are for the women, but we men have a better companion, and indeed bitter as thou art sweet. That's this tobacco.
Aye, sir, but I could never arrive at the understanding why every man should so affect it.
Oh, there's thy ignorance. 'Tis an excellent discourser and a help for the imperfections of nature.
As how, pray, sir?
Why, when a man hath not the wit to deliver his meaning in good words, this being taken, doth presently help him to spit it out gentlemanlike.
Indeed, the best part of our common compliment is but smoke, and now I know how gentlemen come by it, but methinks for all that it takes from the honor of a gentleman to be a common piper, and if the premises be well considered, we may conclude there are no more men that use it.
How? Not men? Why?
Because it makes them children again, for I am sure they that use it most do but suck all the day long, and they are a little better than children then. But see here.
And we're going to pause you there before you introduce another character. So for the readers, or the viewers and listeners at home, we've just done a little section there in square brackets in the text. So that is a little section where they're talking about wine is smoking a pipe, and there's a little bit of business there. That is not in the later printing. So it's a little bit that was cut from the first version and didn't make it. The second version is the more expansive generally, but that is a little section that was cut. But we kept it in there because we are going to meet tobacco later on. But so this little bit on tobacco sort of doesn't quite fit within the wider universe as the expanded text now has. But that's there. Okay, it's also a good point for us because we've had a few skits. We've got a lot of the usual sort of gags of the puns and associative things to do with the nature of certain stuff, which we've had before in this kind of academic entertainment kind of universe. And yeah, there's a lot of nice back and forth, and Toast being very drunk. And yes, we can be reasonably sure here that we are talking about the physical personification of toast rather than the act of toasting, though of course the two are linked in conventions, of which has been discussed in the chat, but someone I'm sure will be prompted to speak about that out loud on the video for people. Thoughts from the room, which may or may not come from the prompt I just gave someone to do. Helen.
This has got nothing to do with any prompt you gave us to do.
Good.
Am I okay?
Yes, that's fine. So...
interesting. We think of as sugar as a free-running substance which lives in a bowl and can be spooned, but their experience of sugar would be very much as a hard lump, which had to be beaten, chipped away, to have small amounts of sugar to use. And it was extraordinarily expensive, which is why people were stealing it for the banquets, all these sugar confections, carefully dropping their handkerchiefs over bits.
Mm. Oh, yeah. Liza?
Yeah, it was a sugar loaf, right? And were those sort of cone-shaped?
Yeah.
A bit phallic, possibly. And yeah, it was made that way so you could import it from the countries where it was grown and processed. Is that it?
Well, I that's how the processing left it. It dripped into a cone, and then they were cut off and packed in boxes alternately and shipped away. But it was bought by weight.
Yes, and the loaves were a specific weight, right? You could.
Well, one hoped they would be, but you would have the person who sold it to you would have an approved weight, and the loaf would be weighed. But you could have a chip of a loaf. You know, your apprentice might take a chip.
There was something in that scene about sugar being bought for tuppence, so you could get like a pennyworth or a two penny worth of sugar just to chip off the loaf.
Yeah.
So what was Toast's beef with Sugar there? Why was he so keen to fight him?
Well, there's the Toast's entrance is very nicely set up by Sugar and Nutmeg, and they say and it's clear that Toast's quality is being choleric. They say, he gets very easily burnt, and when he has an opinion, he will not be turned. So you can't turn the toast over to do the other side. He just gets burnt. And Toast is drunk because he's been dipped in ale. He was very dry, and then he's been dipped in ale, and he's soaked up all the ale, and he's become drunk. And this was a thing. You would get some either toasted or dry bread with your mug of ale or your sack or what have you. The ale might have some nutmeg in it, some spices, hence the old song, cinnamon and ginger, nutmeg and cloves, and that gave me this jolly red nose. So yeah, you would dip some toast in your spiced ale, and it would basically be like croutons in soup, or indeed in our modern times a bit like bubble tea, in that it made a drink into also something that was sustaining, or at least a bit, possibly.
Yeah, I'm so glad I didn't need to. I didn't prompt that as a piece of discourse at all.
Rob.
Yes, and just to clarify, it was sort of mentioned in passing, but we have that reference Nutmeg makes that toast being bread and thou sugar a loaf. So the sugar loaf. So that there are lots of these puns. So I'm thinking in performance, this is the kind of thing that needs a sort of 10-minute setup just to make sure that everyone in the room is in the right universe, because some of this is quite involved, and if you're not following those jokes don't land. But there are enough sort of bad jokes. I mean, it's like when Toast sees Sugar and goes, "What's that? A ghost?" So presumably that suggests it's a white sugar. But other sugars are available. Other thoughts, Eric?
Well, it's also sort of telling about, like, as someone who doesn't really know the habits about, like, dunking toast in ale and that kind of thing. I was intrigued by the fact that nutmeg is used in beer in this, at least according to the sort of setup. It's like the master, like, employed by beer, so it sort of hangs out with beer, which is quite an interesting note, I guess.
Yes, the page we've got, because we got the sugar as a page to wine and adding sugared wine, but also yes, apprentice to beer is nutmeg, and nutmeg being added to beer to beer.
Yeah, I mean, in this era, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over anyone. Was anyone else going to take this one up?
Go for it.
That at Christmas, which is happening right now, although I don't know when this video will be released.
I'll put this out at Christmas.
Okay, well, you know how we drink.
Might not be this Christmas, but it'll go as a Christmas.
You know how we drink mulled wine with spices in it, and they did the same in the winter. They would do the same thing with ale. They would heat it up with spices, and also, spices are a lot more available than they were thanks to colonization. But also increased trade. And and grating a little nutmeg over your beer, just like a few shavings. As you know, as anyone knows who's tried to grate nutmeg, you can grate a lot before you get through a whole nutmeg. So it was a bit like having a chocolate powder on your latte or what have you. Just a few gratings of this luxury item over your ale, and they both have this kind of sweet bitterness that's very nice.
Yeah. And yeah, we're getting sort of additional elements to things like sugar being very much in company with women, and they do a sweetness pun thing there. And there's lots of that sort of fear of spoiling their teeth and things that may or may not be rude, depending on whether people are misinterpreting what was being said. Eric.
I was totally not misinterpreting what was being said. It's just kind of, yeah, I mean, even as Sugar, he is basically a ladies' paid person. I don't know, ladies thing. So, yeah, it's just amusing how they all have opinions on each other. So you can see how this is going to end up in a contention of some sort.
Anyway, we need to move on and gather some more pace. So there's a terrible pun coming up, by the way, just for Beer's first line. So just be aware of what's coming up. I cut off Sugar as he was about to announce the entrance of Beer.
But see, sir, here's Master Beer.
Enter Beer.
How, Beer? We're not very good friends, no matter, us can't avoid him.
Beer, leave, sir.
Jostles wine.
So methinks. How now, Beer? Running a tilt? Dost not know me?
I do mean to have the wall on you.
The wall of me? You would have your head and the wall knocked together. Learn better manners, or I may chance to broach you.
Broach me? Alas, poor wine, 'tis not your fiery fascias can make Beer afraid. Thy betters know the strength of Beer. I do not fear your high colour, sir.
So here will be some scuffling.
You'll leave your impudence and learn to know your superiors, Beer, or I may chance to have you stopped up. What, ne'er leave working? I am none of your fellows.
I scorn thou shouldst.
I am a companion for princes, the least drop of my blood worth all thy body. I am sent for by the citizens, visited by the gallants, kissed by the gentlewomen. I am the life, the genius, the poetical fury, the helicon of the muses, of better value than Beer. I should be sorry else.
Thou art sorry wine indeed sometimes. Value? You are come up of late. Men pay dear for your company and repent it. That gives you not the precedency. Though Beard set not so great a price upon himself, he means not to bate a grain of his worth, nor subscribe to wine for all his braveries.
Not to me.
Not to you. Why, whence come you, pray?
From France, from Spain, from Greece.
Thou art a mad Greek indeed.
Where thou must never hope to come. Who dares deny that I have been a traveller?
A traveller? In a tumbrel, a little beer will go farther. Why, wine, art not thou kept under lock and key, confined to some corner of a cellar, and there indeed commonly close prisoner, unless the gaoler or yeoman of the bottles turn the key for the chambermaid now and then, for which she vows not to leave him till the last gasp, where beer goes abroad and rendezvous in every place.
Thou in every place? Away up of my thumb, Beer, I am ashamed of thee.
Be ashamed of thyself, and blush, wine, thou art no better. Beer shall have commendations for his mildness and virtue when thou art spit out of men's mouths and distasted. Thou art a hypocrite, wine, art all white sometimes, but more changeable than Proteus. Thou wouldst take upon thee to comfort the blood, but hast been the cause that too many noble veins have been emptied. Thy virtue is to betray secrets, the very preparative to 1,000 rapes and murders, and yet thou darest stand upon thy credit and prefer thyself to beer? That is as clear as day.
Well said, Beer. He bears up stiff like a constable. How will I play my part with them both? Sir, this is intolerable.
The vessel of your wit leaks, Beer. Why, thou art drunk.
So art thou, Wine, every day of the week, and art fain to be carried forth of doors.
How, sir?
I scorn thy words, thou art base, Beer. Wine is well born, has good breeding and bringing up. Thou deservest to be carted, Beer.
Suffer this and suffer all to him again.
Carted. Thou would be carted thyself, racked and drawn for thy baseness. Why? Well born? Did not every man call you bastard t'other day? Born? There's no man able to bear thee much, and for breeding, I know none thou hast, unless it be diseases.
How diseases? You have always been held always to be wholesome wine, sir.
Sarah, if I take you in hand, I shall make you small Beer.
Take heed I do not make the vinegar of you first.
Do. Make him piss it. In my opinion, sir, it were not for your honor to run away from. Yet beer being a common quarreler, I fear may prove too hard for you.
Too hard for me? Away, boy, I'll be as hard as he for his heart. Alas, he's but weak, Beer. If I give him but a tap, it shall stay him from running out thus.
So, they are high enough. Fall to and welcome.
Enter Ale.
Who's this? Ale. Oh, for the three-men song. This ale is a stout fellow. It shall go hard, but sugar, which makes all sweet sometimes, shall set him in his part of discord.
Come, Beer. You forget how low you were the other day. Provoke me not too much, lest I bestow a firkin on you.
Strike, and thou darest, Wine. I shall make the answer as quick as the objection, and give you a dash.
What's this? It seems there's great difference between wine and beer. Sugar, what's the matter?
Goodman Ale, I'm glad you're come here. It's nothing but contention. I've gone betwixt them twice or thrice, but I fear one or both will be split.
What do they contend about?
That which ought I can apprehend belongs as much to you as to either of them.
Huh? To me? What's that?
Ale by judicious men hath been hailed no despicable drink. For my own part, 'tis nothing to me. You are all one to sugar. Whosoever be king, sugar can be a subject. But yet 'twere fit ale had his measure.
Are they so proud?
They might not use if you were too unworthy a competitor. See, 'tis come to a challenge.
Yeah, wine throws down the glove, which beer takes up.
Pray, take no knowledge that I discovered anything of their ambition. Sugar shall ever be found true to ale, else I might never be more drunk in your company.
No matter for protestation.
So I have warmed ale pretty well. I'll leave him. If wine, beer, and ale agree together, would sugar might never be drunk but with water, nor never help to preserve anything but old women and elder brothers.
Exit sugar.
Remember-
Briefly pause there, just to take in the quarrel here that's going on. They have dropped their gauges and they've been taken up. It's and sugar's getting out of the way. So many puns. Oh, so many puns. Things, making beer small beer, of course, where I'm going to water you down, and vinegar, wine turn into vinegar, and things like that, and ale is a stout fellow. So yeah, there's distinctions between ale and beer as well as between wine and drink. So all of these things, and it's interesting. Are we getting a sense of what kind of drink is respectable in different circumstances as well, and how you source it, as it were, how you mix it, what you add with it. These are all interesting bits of social distinction. So I'm sure there's a lot here that also that I'm not quite fully taking in, but there's some really nice stuff. Thoughts on the room, because I'm saying words and other people should. Tom, then Eric.
Just as a background, is this it always, in these plays, there is always a great physicality or a petty violence where people just, to some degree, beat on each other. Is this just a theatre effect, or was society in general more diplomacy was dealt with by blows?
Yes,
I mean,
to both of those points, broadly speaking. So, going all the way back to Tudor interludes, some medieval texts, having people just randomly coming on and having a fight is quite standard, and I'm sure Helen can tell us about the number of cases of people randomly getting into fights, and of course people tend to carry offensive weapons around with them, so it can turn pretty nasty pretty quickly.
It was a much more violent age. They're not nearly as violent as France, for example, or Italy, because if you thought you had been insulted in France or Italy, you resorted immediately to violence, whereas in England you tended to send for another lawyer.
So yeah, but it is both theatrical and real. Yeah. Other thoughts, Eric?
I was going to say that I like the idea that sort of Sugar is kind of playing all sides, of course. But he's kind of like, I can't remember what sketch it is, but it's like one of those like Looney Tunes sketches where you've got like this thing of like, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, and you can't do this. And yeah, it just kind of, that's what he reminded me of, and sort of just throwing, stirring shit up. Basically,
yeah, he is, and it's interesting. Yes, because he's an additive to the drinks, depending on your personal taste. I mean, I'm not so sure what you'd add, whether you should add sugar to some of them. But as an additive, I suppose there's an interesting question of allegiance. So yeah, that's a thought. Okay, shall we? Any other thoughts, or shall we move on? Okay. Gauges have been exchanged, and Sugar has made a beeline for the exit. So, leaving wine, ale, and beer together.
Remember the place and weapon.
Stay, come together again. Why, how now? What, fight and kill one another?
Alas, poor beer, I count him dead already.
No, sir. You may find beer quick enough to pierce your hogshead. I shall remember.
But in the meantime, you both forget yourself, do you hear? Ale is a friend to you both. Let me know your difference.
He has disgraced me.
And he has disgraced me.
Thou hast disgraced thyself in thy comparisons. Wine must be acknowledged the nectar of all drinks, the prince of liquors.
The wash boots.
Are you both mad? Who hath each you that you do run over? Do you contend for that injustice belongs to another? I tell you, wine and beer, I do not relish you. I'll tell you a tale. Two spruce Hotspur fiery gallants, meeting in the streets, jostled for the wall. Drew would have been fighting. There steps me forth a corrector of souls, an underlaid cobbler, and cries out, hold your hands, gentlemen. Are you so simple as to fight over the wall? Why, the wall's my landlord's. Have you but so much wit as to apply this, you shall never need to fence for the matter. Superiority is mine. Ale is the prince of liquors, and you are both my subjects.
We? Thy
subjects?
Obeys ale.
Oh, muddy ale.
Leave your railing and attend me reasons. I claim your duties to me for many prerogatives. My antiquity, me riches, me learning, me strength, and me gravity.
Antiquity? Oh, your first reason's a very small one.
Dare any of you deny my antiquity essay?
Oh, we must bear with him. 'Tis in his ale.
It only pleads for me. Who hath not heard of the old ale of England?
Old ale? Oh, Betty's grown to a proverb. John's ale's new.
These are trifles and convince me not.
If we should grant your argument, you would gain little by it. Go together. I do allow you both a couple of stale companions.
Wine, you're very harsh.
Let him. My second prerogative is my riches and possessions, for who knows not how many houses I have. Wine and beer are fain to take up a corner. Your ambition goes no further than a cellar. Where the whole house where I am is mine, goes only by my name, is called an ale house. But when is either heard the wine house or the beer house, you cannot pass a street wherein I have not houses of mine own, besides many that go by other men's names.
I confess you have here and there an alehouse, but whose are all the rest? Hath not beer as much title to them?
And yet I have not heard that either of you both have fined for aldermen, though I confess something has been attempted out of the nick and froth. Be ruled by me, beer and ale, and aspire no higher than the common council houses. Oh, impudence, that either of you should talk of houses, when sometimes you are both glad of a tub. Do you hear, ale? Do not you know the men that did the bottle bring?
That glad of a bottle this in. Wine sometimes, and so is beer too, for all he froths now.
So?
My third prerogative is my learning.
Learning? If you have the liberal sciences, pray be free, and let's hear some.
For that, although I could give you demonstration, for brevity's sake, I remit you to my books.
Books? Printed cum privilegio, no doubt on it, and sold for the company of stationers. What are the names?
Admire me, but when I name learned, though not the great Alexander Ale and Tostatus the Jesuit.
Oh, learned ale, you scorn to make indentures any more, but you might as well have concluded this without book.
Why, you will surely be town clerk. The city chronicler is too mean a place for you.
Now for my strength and invincibility.
But let me here interrupt you. Talk no more of strength. None but beer deserves to be called strong. No pen is able to set down my victories. I have been the destruction.
Of Troy? Us not? Hear your own mouths, condemn you. If killing be your conquest, every quack-solving knave may have the credit of a rare physician that sends more to the church and churchyard than diseases do. I, wine, comfort and preserve. Let that be my character. I am cousin German to the blood, not so like my appearance as in my nature. I repair the disabilities of age, and revive the refrigerated spirits, exhilarate the heart, and steel the brow with confidence. For you both, the poet, hath drawn your memorial in one. Nil Cipicius Ilia. Dum dubitarem nil clarius est dum mingiturum, unde constant quod multas chases in corpore linguat. Nothing goes in so thick, nothing comes out so thin. It must needs follow then, your dregs are left within. And so I leave you. Stygia monstrum conforme plaudi. Monstrous string like the river Styx.
Nay, but hark. 'Tis not your Latin must carry it away. I will not lose a drop of my reputation. And by my favour, if you stand so much upon your preserving, I'll put you to your Latin again and prove myself superior. For ale, as it were the life of mankind, hath a peculiar name and denomination, being called ale, from aloe, which every schoolboy can tell signifies to feed and nourish, which neither wine nor beer can show for themselves. And for my strength and honour in the wars, know that ale is a knight of Malta, and dares fight with any man bears a head. 'Tis more safe to believe what a soldier I am, than try what I can do.
If you look thus ill-favouredly, Ale, you may fright men well enough, and be held terrible by weak stomachs. But if you call to mind the puissance and valour of beer, invincible beer, tumble-down beer, you must sing a palinode. Why I have overthrown armies, how easy it is for me to take a city when I can tame constables, which in their presence are formidable at midnight, in the midst of their rugged billmen, make them all resign their weapons and send them away to sleep upon their charge.
How upon their own charge? Take the constable committing that fault, and he'll never be good in his office after it.
Now for my virtue in preserving and nourishing the body wherein you both so glory, you are not to compare with me, since thousands every day come to receive their healths from me.
Oh, kings and princes from me, and like them I am served in plate.
But art thou come down of late to a glass? Wine. That's the reason I think so many vintners have broke. Now observe my last reason.
Yes, pray, where lies your gravity?
Not in my beard. I speak without mental reservation. I'll tell you, and you shall confess it. The wise men of ancient time were called sages, and to this day it signifies judgment, discretion, gravity. For by what other would you excite to good manners more aptly than to show a young man to be a sage, that is grave? And with what title can you better salute him that is grave, or more honour him than to call him one of the sages? Now this appellation neither of you can challenge, yet every man giveth me the attribute, for who knows not I am called Sage Ale.
One may guess what brains he carries by the sage now.
And thus, having given you sufficient reason for your acknowledgement of my principality, let your knees witness your obedience to your king. And I will grace you both by making you squires of my body, right honourable ale squires.
Oh, this is beyond suffering. Was ever wine so undervalued? Barbarous detractors, whose beginning came from a dunghill, I defy you. Bacchus, look down, and see me vindicate thine honour. I scorn to procrastinate in this, and this minute you shall give account of your insolencies. My spirit's high, I am enemy to both.
Is wine drawn? Then have at you, I'll make good ale.
I stand for the honour of beer, were you an army.
And, well, they're about to fight, but there's going to be an interruption to stop that from happening in a moment. So Ale, as the perfectly reasonable person to stop the fighting between beer and wine, manages to tee them off so much that they're all fighting each other now. Great plan, Ale. It didn't even unify them against you. Everybody's just fighting each other now. Going, I'll tell you, I'll solve your problem by telling you how great I am. Brilliant strategy from Ale. And so yeah, everyone's cross. Thoughts in the room. There's some good points. I think Ale's point about the ale house is a very good point. Well made. And obviously there will be wine bars eventually, but we're not at that point quite there. I mean, you can buy wine, obviously. Anyway, Valentina.
Sorry, I have a question. Just something that wine says. I am served in plate. Does anybody have...
He's talking about silver.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering.
As opposed to being in served in a horn cup or whatever else it was. He's
a pot
served
made
in...
of pewter or ceramic.
Well, yeah, it's a bit. Yeah, they were just beginning to come in.
A tankard?
Hmm.
Or a leather
Leather tankard was
lined with pitch.
yeah, a pottle pot. But no, the plate is silver or silver gilt. Or it can be pewter, but I think he means he's served in a silver cup.
Thank you.
Better class of receptacle for your wine. That's which I suppose is true to this day to a degree.
But he's
Eric.
descended a bit to a glass more recently.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Wasn't glass expensive at this point, or was it just sort of?
Yeah, but it was also fragile.
Oh, yeah,
So
true.
it broke. Whereas if you dropped silver, you might get a dent, but that was easily knocked out.
Okay. Yeah. And how are we following these? It's gone quite chunky. Some of this. People are making speech. This thing is, it's not really a debate. It's in the sense that it's a series of speakers just saying stuff at each other. They're not having a. There's not so much back and forth as there was in the earlier exchanges, where people were really sort of cut and thrusting puns at each other, and wordplay and stuff.
But
Helen.
this is because of Ale, isn't it? I mean, Ale has got this thesis, and he's going to, it comes in. Is it 7 points? He's going to get them all out at some length. He's obviously thought about this a great deal.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely, probably in his cups. Eric.
Yeah, Ale might come in with like a PowerPoint or something and like a laser pointer to go, look, this is what I have, this is what you have, and this is what, Sugar has, but he doesn't mention Sugar, which is kind of cool. I just like how there are these interruptions written into the script where you've got like, and I have been the destruction of Troy, hast thou not? And it's like, okay, what? It just sort of the way they play off each other is kind of cool as well.
Yes, it's not just long, speeches. There is interplay. There's back and forth. I also like the fact that we have ale, beer, and wine, and the only person who's drunk is toast. I suppose if you are the substance, you can't get drunk by definition. I suppose. Can wine get drunk off itself?
Well, I wonder. I mean, the subtext of this whole mutual challenge must be that getting drunk makes you fight, and I wonder if there's some sort of meta commentary on what the three substances do to you, as in like wine makes you haughty and proud and easily able to take offense at things, and ale makes you hold forth at length about how much you know and how great you are, and beer just makes you want to fight people.
It's a shame we're too early for gin, really, in any great amount.
Well, I was thinking of Beer Street and Gin Lane, but wine seems to be taking the place of gin. Gin was seen as, in Hogarth's time, was seen as being a foreign substance brought over from Belgium and Holland and France, and it was foreign, so it was no good for the English. As a good old English beer makes you happy, and now wine is being regarded with suspicion because wine is a foreigner and he can speak Latin.
Not very well. I apologize.
Eric, and then we'll move on.
There's no tequila yet though, so we don't have to worry about them getting starting to take shots and stuff.
This is true.
I think now we know what's going to be on the soundtrack when we actually do this.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are no spirits at all. I mean, they haven't even mentioned. I mean, brandy was known, and they knew of aqua vitae. They did know of spirits, but they were mainly medicinal, I think.
Okay, so they're all about to have a bit of a Barney, but as they offer to fight, water comes running in.
Hold!
Oh, now, what comes water running hither for?
Let my fear ebb a little.
What tide brought you hither, water?
The pure stream of my affection. Oh, how I am troubled. I'm not yet recovered.
So, methinks you look very thin upon't water. But why do we not fight?
Do not talk of fighting. It is not time that water should come to quench the fire of such contention. I tell you, the care of your preservation made me break my banks to come to you, that you might see the overflowing love I bear you. Your quarrel hath echoed unto me. I know your ambition for superiority. You are all my kinsmen. You're allied to water, and though I say it, sometimes not a little beholding to water, even for your very makings. Will you refer yourselves to me and wade no further in these discontentments? I will undertake your reconcilement and qualification.
To thee, water, wilt thou take upon thee to correct our irregularities? Thou often goest beyond thy bounds thyself, but if they consent, I shall.
And beer?
Oh, I am content. Sorry, I said it. I must have been muted. I am content.
And I.
Then, without further circumlocution or insinuation, water runs to the matter. You shall no more contend for excellency, for water shall allow you each of you a singularity. First, you, wine, shall be in most request among courtiers, gallants, gentlemen, poetical wits. Qui melioris luti homines, being of a refined mold, shall chooses a more nimble and active watering to make their brains fruitful. Secundi cultus quem non, but so as not confined to them, nor limiting them to you, more than to exhilarate their spirits and accuate their inventions. You, beer, shall be in most grace with the citizens, as being a more staid liquor, fit for them that purpose retirement and gravity, and that with the snail carries the cares of a house and family with them, tied to the attendance of an illiberal profession that neither trot nor amble, but have a sure pace of their own. Vos lassus fortius sigit pedem, the black ox is trod upon their foot, yet I bound you not with the city, though it be the common entertainment. You may be in credit with gentlemen's cellars, and carry reputation before you from March to Christmas tide, I should say. That water should forget his tide. You, ale, I remit to the country, is more fit to live where you were bred. Your credit shall not be inferior, for people of all sorts shall desire your acquaintance, especially in the morning, and though you may be allowed all the day after. The parson shall account you one of his best parishioners, and the churchwardens shall pay for your company. Drawing their bills all the year long, you shall be loved and maintained at the parish church till you be old. Be allowed a Robin Hood or a Mother Redcap to hang out your door, to beckon in customers. And if you come into the city, you may be drunk with pleasure, but never come into the fashion. At all times you shall have respect, but in the winter morning without comparison. How like you my censure now?
Water has deep judgment.
And yet the world yet sometimes says water is shallow. Nay, I'll see you shake hands, and I knew not a friendship.
We are henceforth brothers.
Stay, who's here?
Enter Toast, Sugar and Nutmeg. Toast wetting a knife on his shoe.
I tell thee, Sugar, I'm now friends with thee, but if it be as you say...
What's the matter?
Let's observe him a little. Tost is angry.
Well, he need be so hot-tossed.
Hot? 'Tis no matter. Sugar, you will justify that wine and beer offered this wrong unto ale.
I don't know whose pride began, but I was sorry to see wine, beer, and ale at such odds.
Odds, quoth I, do mean to be even with somebody.
Even toast shows well.
They shall find that ale has those about him that are not altogether dough.
Thou hast been baked, I'll swear.
And you come out of the oven too, I think, for he is very fiery.
Ale must not be put down so long as toast has a crumb of life left. Beer too?
What do you mean to do with your knife, Toast? That will scare cut butter. That would scare cut beer, and 'twere buttered.
Come not near me, Nutmeg, lest I grate you and slice you. Nutmeg, do you mark?
Let's in and make 'em friends. How now, Toast?
'Tis all one for that. Oh, are you there? Pray tell me which of 'em is't.
Is what?
Why, they are friends. What do you mean, sugar, to make toast burn thus?
Oh, no such matter.
You will not tell me, then. Hark you, beer, march, beer, this way a little.
What dost thou mean to do with thy knife?
I must stir you a little, beer. What colour had you to quarrel with my master?
We're
We are sworn brothers.
We were at a difference, and wine too, but
Wine too, but me no buts. I care not a straw for his butts. Do you hear, sir? Do you long to be Graves' wine?
We are all friends.
Aye, all friends on my word, Toast.
Ooh, fire and water are not to be trusted. Away, new river, away, I wash my hands of thee.
come hither again, Toss.
Over head and ears in ale.
How come this about, Sugar?
The truth is, sir, I told him of some difference between you, for he and I had been fallen out, and I had no other security to put in for myself than to put him upon someone else.
Nutmeg durst scarce speak to him. He was ready to put me in his pocket.
Whew, I am cool again. I may believe you are friends, and then I am content to put up.
He puts up his knife.
Sugar and Nutmeg, come, we be three.
Let's all be one, rather, and from henceforth, since they are so well accorded, let's make no difference for our masters, but belong to them in common. For my part, though I wait upon wine, it shall not exempt my attendance on beer or ale, if they please to. Come on, Sugar.
A match. I am for anything but water.
And I.
But my service shall be ready for him too. Water and sugar, I hope, may be drunk together now and then, and not be brought within compass of that statute to be put in the stocks for it. God have mercy, Sugar, with all my heart. I shall love thy company, for I am solitary, and thou wilt make me pleasant. Stay.
Music.
Hark, music. Oh, some friends of mine. I know them. They come often upon the water. Let's entertain the air a little. Never a moist voice among you.
And the song. Oh, your best voices, please.
Aye, jovial wine exhilarate the heart.
March beer is drink for a king.
But ale, bonny ale, with spice and toast is in the morning's a dainty thing.
All together.
Then
let
let
us
us
be
be
merry,
merry,
more sorrow away.
Wine,
Wine,
beer and ale
shall be drunk today.
Aye, generous wine, am for the court.
The city calls for beer.
But ale, bonny ale, like a lord of the soil, in the country shall domineer. Then let
Let
us
us
be
be
merry,
merry,
more
and
sorrow away.
Wine,
beer, and ale
shall be drunk today.
End song.
Why, now I could dance for joy.
Now you talk of dancing, wine, 'tis one of your qualities. Let's pay the musicians all together. We have often made other men have light heads and heels. There's no hurt in a little tripping for ourselves. What say you?
Strike up, piper.
Lustily, make a merry day on it. Nay, leave out none, a dancing and a football, all fellows.
And broadly speaking, that's where the original version ends. But it is in the revised version, we have some additional business before the dancing can occur. But yes, Water's come in and basically said, "Yeah, you're all different. You've got different people who like you. That's fine. You don't need world supremacy when you've got a community." I suppose it might be a simplistic way of putting it. Helen.
There's a lot of interesting stuff about the parish ale. I don't think they actually say parish ale, but they say it's popular in the parish and with the parish clerk. What it was the parish ale was that people would make ale, which was then sold to benefit the church. It was a sort of bring and buy sale.
Yes, and other entertainments might occur at a church ale and things.
Yes, but it was very much ale rather than beer, it was a regular feature of fundraising in any parish.
I like the way the water coming in just does a torrent of water references. I mean, it was this deluge, a positive deluge of water-based things. And Toast talking about dough at one point, and stuff. And then, oh God, March beer this way a little. Oh God, kill me now. Yeah. So yeah, lots of good stuff. But they're all resolved. But then Toast comes in with a knife, ready to do some cutting, having not actually wanting to keep the fight going because he doesn't know it's been resolved. Oh, what's that line about? His knife isn't sharp enough; it can scarce cut beer. That's one blunt knife. Can't pass through a liquid. God, yeah. There's it's a sprightly thing, and then we get a song, and I love the song. I thought the song was really fun. I would just check to see if there's any music. Helen.
Yeah, I mean, cutting beer. I mean, I'm not saying it was difficult to cut beer, but I think that the clear liquid that you think of as beer nowadays is very far removed from the beer of the time, which was opaque and full of interesting objects.
Eric.
I don't know much about beer production, but I'm guessing it was sort of like the equivalent of cloudy cider kind of thing, like that kind of consistency. And also I think the joke was, well, not joke, but there was also a thing about buttered beer and that kind of thing.
I think the buttering was the toast.
Yeah.
Well, but they they put butter in hot beer as well to make it delicious.
And
it's
eggs.
Already delicious.
Eggs, yes.
Pullets.
Right.
I did like but me no butts.
Yeah.
Yes. Wine comes in
I
these
care
big
not a
barrels.
straw for his butts is where we went, which I quite liked.
Butts of wine.
Yeah, there's some good stuff. It's fun. I mean, it's doing similar work to some of the other sort of texts that we've done, but it's doing it in its own way, its own exciting way. Tom.
And beer and ale, like cider, were part payment and were drunk in the morning, just to ease the pain, the ache of working all from morning till dusk. Everybody drank one or two beers.
But they were very mild. They didn't have any particular alcoholic strength to them.
Yes, because we've already had reference to small beer, so it'd be a very watered down
But
beer.
the impact of brewing was partly sterilization. I mean, water would have been dangerous to drink.
Okay. Well, we've got an invader in this text, a late arrival at the wine, ale, and beer ball. So enter at this point. I don't think talks to themselves. There are some minor clashes with those who are doubling, but I think it's okay. Enter tobacco.
By your leave, gentlemen. Oh, wilt please you be here, sir?
Who's this tobacco?
Why comes it into our company?
I do hear say there is a controversy among you, and I am come to moderate the business.
It shall not need, sir. Need. We are concluded, sir.
Your name is Tobacco, I take it?
No, sir, you take it not. Do you see? 'Tis I that take it.
But we take it very ill. You should intrude yourself into our mirth.
I did guess by the chimney of your nose that you might stand in need of water to quench some fire in your kitchen.
Ha! Water!
Spits.
He has spit me out already.
Exit water.
Sugar, toast, and nutmeg, pooh, vanish!
He has blown away the spice too.
Exuent, sugar, toast, and nutmeg.
Now, do you not know me? What, do you stand at gaze? Tobacco is a drink, too.
A drink?
Wine, you and I both come out of a pipe.
Prithee, go smoke somewhere else. We're not covetous of your acquaintance.
Oh, do not incense me, do not inflame tobacco.
We do not fear your puffins, sir. And you have anything to say to us, be brief and speak it.
Then, briefly and without more circumstance, not to hold you in expectation.
Ada, this is prolixity itself.
Oh, sir, his words are not well dyed in his mouth.
Or his understanding is not sufficiently lighted yet. Give him leave, I pray.
I do come,
Not yet to the purpose, methinks.
and I do mean.
Muted.
Somewhat would hear out.
And I intend.
Yet again, think till tomorrow. We may chance meet again.
Stay! I command you, stay!
How? You command us? By whose authority?
That must be disputed.
Attend my argument. The sovereign ought to command. I'm your sovereign. The sovereign drink tobacco. Ergo,
Oh, I see tobacco is sophisticated.
I ought to command you, and it will become your duty to obey me.
You are sovereign, a mere whiffler.
I say again, I am your prince. Ooh. Bow and do homage.
You've turned over a new leaf, Tobacco.
Oh, you are very high, tobacco. I see ill weeds grow apace.
Most high and mighty Trinidado.
For whose virtue would you be exalted? If it shall please your smoky excellence.
Not yours, nor yours, but altogether. All the virtues which you severally glory in are in me, united. Look not so coy. Call water to spread your faction, and you are but like the giddy elements changing and borrowing creatures, whilst I, tobacco, am acknowledged a heavenly quintessence, a divine herb.
Tobacco, you are out.
After what rate is this an ounce?
Oh, let us beseech your excellence, for less title we must not give you, having so much virtue as you pretend, to let us understand some of your particular graces and qualities.
I pray, discourse a little. What's the first?
You have named it. 'Tis discourse which you are so far from being able to advance that you destroy it in all men when you are most accepted, when my divine breath, mixing with theirs, doth distill eloquence and oracle upon the tongue which moveth with such deliberation. Words flowing in so sweet distinction that many ears are chained to the lips of him that speaketh. Da puer accensum selecto filite pito ut fibum ore bibam.
Yet, we're not enchanted with the music of your pipe to dance after it, my most excellent discourser.
And a help for the imperfections of nature. For when a man has not wit enough to express himself in words, you being taken, do presently help him to spit forth gentlemanlike.
Indeed, the most part of our common compliment is but smoke. And now I know how gentlemen come by it.
Thus, swine do value pearl.
But as you have the eloquence of Ulysses, I suppose you have not the strength of Ajax. We should move in great fear if you were valiant. I hope you are but weak, Tobacco.
Weak! Whose brain hath not felt the effects of my mightiness? He that opposes me shall find me march like a tempest, waited upon with lightning and black clouds.
Here is no crack.
And yet he thunders it out.
Yes, yes. I remember I've heard him reported a soldier, and once being in company with a knapsack man, a companion of his, I obtained a copy of his military postures, which put down the pike and pop gun clean. Pray observe them. 1. Take your seal. 2. Draw your box. 3. Uncase your pipe. 4. Produce your rammer. 5. Blow your pipe. 6. Open your box. 7. Fill your pipe. 8. Ram your pipe. 9. Withdraw your rammer. 10. Return your rammer. 11. Make ready. 12. Present. 13. Elbow your pipe. 14. Mouth your pipe. 15. Give fire. 16. Nose your tobacco. 17. Puff up your smoke. 18. Spit on your right hand. 19. Throw off your loose ashes. 20. Present to your friend. 21. As you were. 22. Cleanse your pipe. 23. Blow your pipe. 24. Supply your pipe. Exercise this discipline till you sink, defile the room, offend your friends, destroy your liver and lungs, and bid adieu to the world with a scoring flux.
Ah, you have a good memory.
I'm sure tobacco will spoil it.
These are but childish inventions, man.
Oh, they are most proper to illustrate your magnificence, for howsoever you pretend that you converse with men, it is apparent that you make men children again, for they that use you most familiarly do but smoke all day long.
You dishonor me.
Not so much as gentlemen dishonor themselves to turn common pipers, but if you have any more conditions, pray enrich us with the story.
I am medicinal
How?
and preserve the health of man.
Oh, I hope they're not come to drink healths in tobacco.
I'm just going to briefly pause just to say we do not endorse any of the lies that tobacco is putting forth at this point. We are solely on the side of ale, saying that it stinks, defiles the room, offends your friends, destroys your liver and lungs, and bids adieu to the world in a scouring flux. This are the many effects of tobacco. Do not smoke. Okay, continue tobacco.
I repair the bodies which your immoderate cups have turned to fens and marshes. The wisest physicians prescribe my use and acknowledge me a salutary herb.
Physicians are no fools. They may commend you for their profit. You are one of their harbingers to provide for a disease. Yet, howsoever you call them wise and glory in their flatteries, they will make but a very simple of you.
Methinks this should cut tobacco.
Not at all. I am above their poor derision. At my pleasure, I could revenge their malice, for I am in favor and grown to be the delight of poets and princes.
How poets and princes? Ego et rex meus, a stopper for tobacco. We shall have pretty treason and none else.
And does it scruple your judgment, Master Small Beer, that I say poets and princes? I am not to learn their distinction, nor doth it take from any allegiance. They are both sacred names, yet I am confident it is easier for a poet not born to sovereignty to aspire to a kingdom than for a king not born with fancy to be made a poet. I mentioned these names not in their method and order, but to show my grace with them, that are most able to punish insolence such as yours.
How the vapour rises.
Oh, this ruffler may be troublesome. We were best to admit him to our society. He is a dry companion, and you may observe how he hath insinuated already with the greatest. The ladies begin to affect him, and he receives private favours from their lips. Every day he kisseth their hands when he appears in a fair pipe. Though we allow him not a priority, for our own sakes, let us hold correspondence with him, lest he seduces men to forsake us, or at least to make use of us but for their necessity.
He says well. Now I better consider 'twere safest to use him kindly, lest by degrees he overthrow us and jet on our privileges. For I heard a gentleman t'other day affirm he had fasted 3 or 4 days only. 3 or 4 days only with tobacco.
Beside, if we continue friends, he will be a preparative for our reception. Without us he may subsist, but with him we are sure of liberal entertainment.
I am converted. Wine, you are the best orator. Speak for us.
Tobacco, you are a good fellow, all ambition laid aside. Let us embrace as friends. Excuse us that we have been a little merry with you. We acknowledge you a gentle drink, and you shall have all the respect will become wine, beer, or ale to observe you with. What should we contend for primacy, quarrel about titles, which, if to any we acknowledge most properly belong to you, for they are all but smoke. Let us unite and be confederate states for the benefit of men's law countries. Live and love together. Wine doth here enter into league with tobacco.
And beer.
And ale.
Are you in earnest? Ah, why then, tobacco is so far from pride that he vows to serve you all. And when I leave to be a true friend, may fire consume me, and my ashes want a burial.
And when we
falsify,
may
thunder strike
us dead.
And finally we get to a dance, in which wine falling down, one taketh sugar by the heels, and seems to shake him upon wine. In the second passage, beer falleth, and two take nutmeg, and as it were to grate him over beer. In the third, ale falleth, one bringeth in a chafing dish of coals, and another causeth toast to put his breech to it. Afterwards he is clapped to ale's mouth, and the dance concludeth.
Gee, thanks.
Okay, that's a fabulous dance. But I think we also just have to acknowledge the brilliance of ale in that whole sequence, because ale basically goes through everything that the tobacco lobby will throw at the universe in terms of, promotion, physicians being persuaded to promote it. all of this is a very, very accurate takedown of things. Even just the nature of tobacco as an appetite suppressant, which is, when they talk about people fasting, it's the reason why models and people and such like, will be smoking, because that's part of a way of eating less and doing really unhealthy things. Tobacco's awful. I'd just like to point out, just underline this. Just going to keep saying it's just terrible stuff. But ale's a sort of military drill. I really like that. The elbow your pipe. As you were.
Fire.
I think as you were is my favourite one.
I like give fire, which is actually the command. Because you took your limb stock or whatever with the slow match on the end of it, you blew it, and then you give fire, which is why we say fire.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You go on.
I've done.
Liza.
And they had the parallel between ramming down the powder and wadding the cartridge in your musket and tamping the tobacco in your pipe.
This feels to physical business, doesn't it? This feels like it's not just that. I think everyone should be involved with this pipe thing. He should be doing it as a drill sergeant, and they're all enacting it and stuff like that. It really is. It has a lovely dynamism to it.
Yes, I thought Helen did a very good job of demonstrating it.
Yeah, extempore, I may say.
And we got leaf gags. Sorry, was that buy your leaf, gentlemen? Was that because we had a beer your leaf earlier? So it's like everyone's trying to do that pun. It's
leaf tobacco. Drinking. I mean, tobacco. They referred to tobacco as a drink. You drank tobacco. You didn't smoke tobacco at this time. So, which puts it more in line with beer, wine, and ale. I've got a great Star Chamber case that I'm looking at the moment, where a man was accused of throwing fireworks out of a window and burning a market stall in somewhere in Devon. And in fact, he said what he was actually doing was after dinner, he got this desire to drink tobacco, and he put a coal from the fire on his pipe, but he was leaning out of the window at the time and the coal fell. I mean, I don't believe a word of it. But
and this in the sense that they're all drunk, in the sense that they're all intoxicants on some degree. I mean, Liza was going more for a stoner vibe with your tobacco. I mean, your tobacco was clearly mixed with some other weeds.
Okay, well, I mean, I mean, I remember hearing somewhere, and Helen can doubtless correct me, that there was actually some evidence for cannabis as a thing.
I don't know.
But so what, in my sort of hurried read over before we started, at one point I figured while tobacco was declaiming about how powerful they were, a cigar was the way to go, because that's the sort of, to a modern, I don't have a clay pipe, would that I did, but for a modern ear, a cigar is emblematic of power. And then later on they were like, oh, tobacco, you are high. And then they're like, how much is this per ounce? And I figured it was probably time to switch over to something like a little happier.
Yeah, I mean, the text for those at home has dashes to indicate where smoking occurs. Now that's not original to this text. That's been done before, but there are cues, as it were, for and it's other characters have it as well occasionally. So it suggests that other characters are maybe mocking the smoking ritual at those points. Eric, you were waving ages ago. Can you even remember what the thought was? Can you catch it?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say it's interesting how here we talk about drinking tobacco, but in Greek, when you talk about like smoking, there is the verb to smoke, but there is also to drink a cigarette, which is quite weird. If I remember correctly. And no, I just like dance also, just like sort of, it made me think of the weird sort of ball exchange that we had in the Dream of the Desert, or sorry, the Desert Queen one, whose full title I cannot remember. But there were 4,000 titles.
Dream of a dry summer. Do you mean that one?
Yes. Where we had this very strange dance that didn't really explain very much. But yeah,
we have a very explicaty dance here, don't we?
Yeah. But I like how it's basically like, as soon as wine passes out, you get like some sugar to add to help revive them. Then beer, and then nutmeg, and then when ale falls, you get toast.
Yeah, for a modern audience, this is the kind of thing you'd actually put at the beginning. You'd do this dumb show to demonstrate all of these elements so that the modern audience would get what's going on in a visual, because that's the way shows sort of open. Let's have a music pounding and stuff. It's lovely here. It's at the end because it is really fun. Liza.
I thought that when Helen was reading the epistle to the reader from the author, I thought it might actually be kind of nice to have that, or at least in a low budget kind of way, to have that read on stage and to have all the characters sort of pass by and wave as they are named.
Yeah, I think that has a nice quality to it. That feels performable, which they aren't always. But yeah, the dance. I mean, how do you grate him over beer? How do you shake him upon wine? I mean, this is one for a choreographer to have a lot of fun with, I feel.
Yeah, I was wondering more about like the safety of the dish of coals and sort of putting someone's breeches to a dish of coals without setting it on the fire alarm or smoke alarm, and then clapping it to Ale's mouth.
Yes, what part of toast is clapped to Ale's mouth?
The breech part.
Yeah. So it's yeah.
I mean, I think almost certainly we have 3 boys here for sugar, toast, and nutmeg, and 3 adults. Well, 4 adults if you include tobacco.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the sense that a university, if it is a Cambridge University show, you do have a wider age range than you would have in a modern university. So you could have the younger sort mixing
young teens.
Yeah. As that mix, happily enough. Okay, we're going into final thoughts almost, unless anyone has additional thoughts before they go into final thoughts.
My penultimate thought is that, it is perfectly possible using existing technology to pretend to light someone's trousers on fire. You just need, I don't know, powder or something that will fly from their breeches and look like smoke.
Yeah, we could do that. We can find ways. We have the technology. Such things can happen. Okay. I'll go around final thoughts. This is a fun one. I like this. It's not too long. It's not too short. It has a nice quality to it. It has a sort of educational value in the sense that it does feel it needs to go with something to just fill in some of the gaps. But this definitely feels like a very doable little thing, and I commend it to the house. It didn't overstay its welcome. It made some terrible jokes. There's lots of room for physical comedy business. There's things sometimes when you're doing dialogues or things where there's a lot of debating going on. You're not sure how actually physically engaged it's going to be. This is physically engaged, and of course we can have silly costumes. So I mean, what does wine look like? Is wine a very well sculpted bottle, or are we going for a wine box wine? It's all sorts of questions.
Carton.
Well, the implication is that wine is a gentleman. Beer is of the Burgess standard, the alderman, the businessman, and ale is the countryman.
Indeed. Yeah, so we've got social status running throughout it. So wine couldn't really be a box wine, really, because that would be just too low grade.
Yes, he gets.
But you couldn't have a glass wine because you couldn't have a glass of wine now.
A talking glass of wine? I mean, I think that
Well, no, because of the text.
Oh yeah.
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 Anyway, final thoughts. I will start going around. Eric, you were waving, so I'll go. You can speak on what we were going to say as well as final thoughts.
Well, basically, I had a question, but I don't know if it's really relevant to.
Oh, a question.
Yes. No, it's just because I seem to remember, but I think this comes later, as in like, I don't know, maybe 2 centuries later, like 2 centuries after this text was written, where you have like snuff that can be chewed, if I remember correctly, or tobacco that can be chewed. Was that also the case in this, or like at this time, or was it like just smoked or drunk?
I don't know, Liza.
Tobacco was chewed by specific people, and the specific people tended to be gunners who could not smoke around the gunpowder, and so gunners and sailors who had to handle guns on a ship, they would chew their tobacco and they would spit the juice.
As indeed, the spitting of the water forces water off the stage as well. So yes, there's sort of textual indication of that. Eric, final thoughts in general.
I like this. My voice didn't, because I just scratched it halfway through. But that was a bad decision. I didn't know he was going to have such a long speech. Anyway, in my defense, I should probably look at these before we do them. I just like the dance at the end and the sort of shenanigans at the beginning, where you've got like, I kept picturing Sugar as a very small boy sort of trying to pacify the adults and being ignored. Therefore, he decides to cause mischief. Sort of like, they're ignoring me. How dare they? But also sort of being a bit playful with the whole like, oh, women like me too, all the time. Just, I don't know. It's just, I like the text as well. I feel like there are very little changes that need to be made. On the, like, except maybe like, things like certain references that might not be relevant anymore, or sort of topical, like Alexander Alan Tostatus the Jesuit might be lost references or something like that. I don't know. Yeah,
it is one where it's so packed full of sort of the references of the period that it's almost go for broke, and just you have an introductory talk to fill everyone in and have an interval and then come back and watch the show. Tom, any final thoughts?
No, just I agree with you. It was warm the cockles of your heart. Really, it was a nice little piece of entertainment.
Warm cockles.
Warm cockles.
Valentina, any final thoughts?
No, I agree with everybody. It's really enjoyable, and I think we should do it.
Desna, anything to add?
No, nothing to add. I agree with everybody. It was I like the way it skipped along, and it feels like it will be brought to life even more if it was done physically rather than just voices. That makes sense.
Yes, it does indeed. Helen, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely stuffed with social history. And I, as someone who collects drunk watchmen and constables, I've chopped up another one. It's only a mention, but it's there.
It's Beer, isn't it? Beer says that he can put constables to sleep.
It's
also Sugar mentions that ale is like a constable or something. I think.
Yeah, but there is a specific little set of lines about the effect of alcohol on the watch. Good.
Yeah, add it to the mixtape. It's there. Liza, any final thoughts?
Well, this was tremendous fun. I think Helen was right in that the social history is fascinating, but it's I think an audience wouldn't have to get all the puns to make it relatable. Like, it could make PhDs feel smart, and it could also get belly laughs, I think. You know, and you can get the social status, you can get wine, you know, in their sort of courtier's garb, and or you know, you could do this period, or you could do it in modern dress. Um, but I mean, people don't put sugar in their drinks anymore, so I guess maybe period makes more sense.
You do with mulled wine.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, I mean, I think Liza makes a good point there that, you know, yes, it is a little. There are lots of little differences, and there's lots of little things, but it's not alienating. It's not a. You know, we know what wine is. We know what most people have a sense that there's some difference between beer and ale, even if they don't know the specifics. You know, you could do this actually with a very short introductory thing, just to set up a few things, just so you're geared into the world before you start, and then just let it run. Or, as I say, we could really dive into the social history and really, you know, make it go to town on it, because I think there's a Helen, everyone's really right there. There's something really rewarding actually to pick apart the text and, you know, talk about what's going on.
What you need for this is Angela, because she did years on intoxicants.
Yes. Angela, who hasn't been available for a while, but hopefully will return to the fold.
Well, send her this.
I suspect probably already has it.
Yeah, I imagine she probably knows it by heart.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's always worth a shout. Okay, well, we've had a lot of fun with wine, beer, ale, and tobacco. None of us are driving home, so that just.
Eric.
Thank
Eric.
Eric.
Question.
Eric wants to say something. Eric
Another
wants to say
question.
something. You're my best friend. You are.
I love you too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Christmas. Come on, if we can't say that now, anyway. Christmas cheer.
Yeah. What were you actually going to say?
No, I was wondering because, like, okay, Ale has the whole thing about, like, you know, I'm powerful, I'm strong, I've got, like, sort of what was it? I can't remember what all of them were, but the books part was the part where I got lost.
Me too.
Yeah, like, sort of, I remit you to my books. Is that like sort of a reference to accounting or something, or what?
We went through it, and I made a note to myself that I didn't understand what I was saying.
Yes. I think that is fair. That is a point I wasn't really taking in what was going on there. Probably very simple. Desna.
So when we were reading this, I assumed Ale was saying that he had published books. I remit you to my books. These are the books I've published, and then Beer responds books printed. I don't know what that Latin is.
It's a Latin tag that frequently basically appears on the frontispiece of lots of books. So it's like saying,
okay.
Yeah, that would make sense. That would be right. Yeah, here are my previously published pamphlets on this subject. I don't need to go into detail here.
And then Beer asks for the names of the books as if he's going to go and look. So that's what I understood by that, without, any other context.
It's possible that the parish ale generated an ale book, an account.
Yeah, maybe.
I've never heard of one, but it's possible.
Unless it's a pun on boke, like Scottish, like throwing up, but I don't think so.
It may simply be like the reckoning at the tavern, like the hostess would keep a record of how much you owed her. Possibly. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, one to mull on, one to add into the comments. If you have any thoughts, you can even get in touch with us. We're online on social media at Beyond Shakes. Pretty much lots of social medias that we are. So yes, all that remains is to thank all the wonderful readers for all your wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. As you were.